Hey there, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of Pastatime with the Scarish Podcast. I'm Robin Grace. This is Adam Diaz, and today it's weird. Today's different. Today we're recording in completely separate rooms.
So we're going to do our best to try and keep this as seamless as possible. As Robin mentioned, she is recording from a completely different state. We are recording over Discord, so shout out to Discord for being a wonderful chat app that we are able to use here. It's very helpful. That said, we're going to be covering 4 creepypastas today. Robin, why don't you tell folks what creepypastas are, since everything is so discombobulated for this episode?
Oh, no. Okay, so creepypastas are fictional written tales by, fanciful authors out there that write, fictional true crime, horror, paranormal, different funny stories, things like that. They're just a little bit scary-ish.
Yeah. You can find them at Creepypasta. You can find the SCP Foundation, No Sleep subreddit, a bunch of different places. If you have a story that you have written that is a short fictional horror story, or if you've read one on the internet and you think it would be good content for us to read, you can reach out to us by emailing storytime. Actually, I lied to you. Pastatime@scarish.com. Or go to our website, click on Contact Us, fill out that form, or hit us up on any of our social medias. We would love to hear from you. All right, Robin, I think you're going to go first, and right. I'll let you just sort of take it away.
All right, so the first story that I'm going to read is titled Visitor, and it goes like this. Let me get into the story. The following incident occurred last Sunday. I was in my study typing an email for work when I fancied I had heard a noise coming from my kitchen. I disregarded it. The house in which I live is old, and strange noises were not uncommon. Not 5 minutes later, I heard the noise again. It was a clicking of some sort. I broke out into a cold sweat. It was the sound of the back door unlocking. I opened my desk, pulled out my revolver, and closed the drawer. That's pretty, wow. It's intense. Just get right into it. I stood up and quietly made my way to the door of my study. I carefully opened the door and stepped into the hall. Darkness greeted me, thick and awful, a shroud hiding whomever was lurking in my house. Then again, the darkness was my protector as well. Knowing my house like the back of my hand, I didn't bother turning on the lights. If someone truly was here, I wanted to get the jump on them. I moved down the hall as silently as possible and listened as hard as I could. Silence. Could I have been imagining things? As I mused over these points, a soft padding played its way from the direction of my kitchen to the other side of the house. No shoes or boots could make such a stealthy noise. Had the intruder removed his shoes before entering? The steps sounded lighter than a full-grown man's. They sounded like a child's footsteps or those of a large dog. At this point, I decided to call out, "Hello!" I bellowed loudly, the volume of my voice causing me to recoil. "Get a hold of yourself, man," I whispered to myself. I yelled out again, "I am armed and the police are on their way." Stupid me, why hadn't I called the police when I was in the study? I made my way to the kitchen, entered slowly, and saw that I was very much alone. Everything seemed to be in its place, yet when I turned the lights on, I had to choke down a scream. The back door I had double locked for the night only 2 hours before lay wide open. Adding to the horror, I discovered 2 sets of small, muddy, barefooted prints leading to the stairs. I closed the door quietly. Who the fuck is in my house? I thought, my mind beginning to race. And how did they undo the locks? I decided I would follow the footprints, and a new sound impressed itself upon my ears. The sound of muffled conversation coming from above. Whoever was in my house had made their way to the upstairs bedroom. I steeled my nerves and swallowed the lump in my throat. This was my house. Whoever was whispering in my bedroom was invading my privacy and threatening my safety. I had to deal with it. I made it to the bottom of the steps, switched on the light, and yelled, "Show yourself!" Weighted silence greeted me. "I have a gun and I will use it. Surrender yourself." My adrenaline began to pump, and no longer cautious, I took the stairs 2 by 2, slammed open my bedroom door, and leveled the gun at nothing. My large bedroom, the only room on the second floor, was entirely empty. I looked at the floor, found the same footprints that were in the kitchen, only they stopped in the middle of the room. My blood ran cold. I checked the closet and under the bed, but there was no one to be seen. Was I going mad? I made my way back into the hall when the door suddenly slammed closed behind me. I shouted in terror and bounded back down the stairs, through the kitchen, and into my study. I slammed the door and locked it tight. I collapsed in my chair and passed out. Footsteps. I awoke just in time to hear them pad their way down the stairs, across the kitchen, and to my horror, stop outside my study door. Locks seemed powerless to stop these entities, and I waited for the knob to turn. Instead, I heard something that chilled my blood. A voice whispering in the hall. A horrible voice belonging to someone no longer alive. My heart pounded, my blood froze in my veins, my lips moved, and my throat uttered a gibbering mess.
Your lips moved? Moo!
My lips moved, and my throat uttered a gibbering mess. The doorknob began to turn, the locks disengaging as if by magic. The door creaked open slowly. Nothing. Emptiness. Darkness. I feared I'd gone truly mad. Then again, the sounds of footsteps, but this time going away from my study. The back door opened and closed, leaving me in deafening silence. After what seemed like an eternity, I stood and shakily made my way to the kitchen. The light was still on, and nothing seemed to be out of order. The back door was closed, and I could see that the lock was again engaged. Looking around, I noticed a piece of paper on the table. I moved closer, picked up the note, and began to laugh horribly. It read, "Sorry, wrong house." That story makes no sense.
So that's the ending to it?
That's the end.
So someone broke in.
Credit to Big Dom for writing this, but it doesn't make any sense.
Broke in, creeped around, realized it wasn't their home, left a note saying, "Sorry, wrong house."
The thing that doesn't make sense is if it was someone who came in and it was the wrong house, how did they unlock the door?
Yeah.
And we're unlocking all the doors.
Maybe they're like breaking in. Like their intention was to break in and steal something or to like cause bodily harm to who was there. But as they were walking around, they're like, dang, I got the neighbor's house. I need to go kill the person next door. Like if this was my story, I think the way I'd twist it is like the next morning I read that my next door neighbor had been murdered or something like that to know like how close you were to it and what the intentions of the person were. But it doesn't have that. So it's just sort of like, wait, why were they in their house in the first place? Were they looking? Were they like going home and they were drunk and they just wandered into the wrong house? So it's definitely a weird one.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Definitely odd. Nice try, though, Big Dom.
All right. Good way to start the show. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move into our next story. This one's title is long. All right. So in the description, I called it, "Does Anyone Know a Good Plumber?" This one's full title is, "Does anyone know a good plumber? I did one of those stupid rituals and now my shower is leaking and there's a faceless guy in my kitchen." So that's the title.
I like that is tossed in for fun. Like, and there's a faceless guy in my kitchen.
Right. So here we go. Does anyone know a good plumber? I fucked up one of those stupid ritual things that everyone is doing, and now my shower is leaking, and also there's some faceless guy in my kitchen.
What is it leaking? Blood?
Let me read the story.
Okay.
My landlord comes tomorrow, and he's going to kill me, especially because I also have a cat, and I'm not even supposed to have pets. It all started when I was drunk messaging a girl on Tinder, and she said the only way we would meet up was if I did this weird ritual thing where I summon a ghost or some shit. I think she called it mea culpa or something. Actually, her exact message was, I guess I'll do a voice for this. The decaying flesh will not rest. I am the Alpha and Omega. I have seen the burning cities consume the earth. And then it says link to ritual instructions.
Stupid.
Our souls meet when darkness spills mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa. And then a bunch of random letters afterwards. The story goes on. She was a weird chick. At least, I think she was a girl. I couldn't really see her face. Her picture was just a black background with two shiny dots that kind of looks like eyeballs. You could sort of see some features, but it looked like her face was gray, and I couldn't really see her mouth. But she had really good skin. I wasn't about to rally for a pizza face. So
You know
anyway,
I'm all about that skin.
I weighed the pros and cons of spooky rituals versus trampoline booty as best I could on 5 shots of Patron. It was totally worth it.
Trampoline booty?
I've never heard of trampoline booty
before. The fuck
before.
is a trampoline booty?
This story was so fucking funny when I read it. I could not stop laughing. All right. It was totally worth it. I set my cell phone to 3:26 a.m., but since my phone is a 2005 Motorola Razr that was dropped in the toilet several times, it went off at 4 a.m. Fuck. I decided to go through with the ritual anyway. I was also supposed to have a friend during this thing, but my bestie recently got incarcerated for selling heroin on the corner of Patterson Park and Eastern Avenue. Shout out to my main man, Roscoe. Anyway, I sat up and this is great writing. Okay. This is such a wonderful fucking story. How dare you insult it? Anyway, I sat up and turned off my alarm, but the moment I turned it off, I drunkenly passed out again. I woke up 20 minutes later and actually got out of bed this time, stumbling around the room in the dark because apparently you're not supposed to turn on the lights, because if you do, a ghost will pop out. Ooh.
Is that what it says?
Yeah. With the ooh and everything. I was supposed to find a candle and light it, but my hangover just made me trip over the several candles I had placed on my floor. Eventually, I gave up and flipped the lights on, grabbing a candle from my desk. I squinted out my window to see what my Baltimore neighborhood looked like at 4:20 a.m. The street was empty except for some rando wearing a black robe and a giant pointy black hat. He was staring up at me through the window. I couldn't really see his face. You know, Baltimore has gone to the fucking dogs. First gang wars and now an updated KKK, for God's sake. I lit the candle and looked at my phone. I was supposed to knock on my bedroom door 66 times. The 66th knocked time on the 4:06. But since I had fucked everything else up, I just did shave and haircut knock and then walked into my hallway. My bedroom door is opposite the stairs, and looking down that dark stairwell was pretty spooky. I thought I saw something move on one of the lower steps. For the next step, I was supposed to close my eyes and walk forward while chanting mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa, which is Italian for my culpa, which is probably some kind of shitty Italian car. I tried to close my eyes and walk forward while talking about Italian cars, but my cat, Fish Sticks, ran under my feet and I ended up tripping over him and falling down the flight of stairs. At some point, the stupid candle went out as I flailed down the stairs, but I was too concussed to care. I rolled up from the ground, groaning, and decided that I would just continue to go through the motions, which meant hiding in a closet and waiting for the ghost to play hide and seek with me. I chose the kitchen pantry because I had opened some potato chips in there, so I made my way back. As I stumbled, I heard several soft whispers behind me. I spun around, hoping that I was right about Fish Sticks knowing how to talk, but there was no one there. Except for the figure standing in the corner.
Oh, fuck.
I stopped, blinked, and it was gone. I really need to lay off the Patron. As I honed in on the closet, the alcohol and concussion finally caught up with me, and I stumbled to a stop, doubling over and vomiting watery Patron all over my kitchen floor. Fuck. My ass was landlord grass. The hellish combination of alcohol, concussion, post-vomit, and a looming eviction notice caused my emotions to go haywire, and I unleashed a violent sob, mucus, and tears rivering down my face. I heard a noise outside the kitchen. My eyes fell on the kitchen window, and I spied that stupid gang member / KKK dude in my backyard still staring at me. I must have looked like an idiot, weeping in front of my kitchen pantry. Too ashamed to confront him, I just crawled into the pantry and shut the door.
What the
It was so cold in there, it damn near froze my man titties off. My air conditioner was probably broken or something. I definitely need to call the landlord, but that would mean stating Fish Sticks and stuffing him in a suitcase under my bed. Jesus fucking Christ. This story is insane. It's so funny. At this point, I realized that I needed to reevaluate my life. Maybe I shouldn't drink as much. Maybe I should give Fish Sticks to a good home. Maybe I should find women with intellect and poise. Maybe I should move out of my shitty neighborhood where KKK people roam around at 4 a.m. After going through an existential crisis in my pantry, I decided to say fuck it and end the stupid ritual. That Tinder girl wasn't even that hot anyway.
It's fucked up.
And besides, I still had like 70 more ritual things to complete, which included lighting 8 more candles, stabbing a Japanese doll, and spinning around in a circle while screaming, "You're it! You're it!"
Oh my god.
This is actually mixing in a bunch of rituals that do exist. This was all supposed to culminate in me going to my basement, sitting in front of a mirror, and looking into the mirror, but not actually looking into it, which made absolutely no fucking sense. As I got up to...
This is making fun of every paranormal game there is.
As I got up to open the pantry door, I heard a low moan coming from behind the door. I froze.
Sounds hot.
I prayed to God it wasn't my landlord. I cracked open the door to see the gang member / KKK guy standing in the kitchen staring at me. I finally got a good look at him. He definitely didn't have a face. I guess getting your face taken away is part of a gang ritual now.
Oh my god.
He didn't react to my presence. He just stared. I didn't know how the hell to deal with gang members or faceless KKK members, so I just stared back. We did this for about 5 minutes before I slowly inched out of the kitchen and back upstairs. He turned to watch me as I went, but didn't move. So after that, I went up to my bathroom to take a shower, and now my shower head is leaking, which I blame on the stupid ritual. So if you guys know any good plumbers in the Baltimore area, I would really appreciate it.
It's probably leaking because it's an old place.
I like that you're trying
so
to make
stupid.
reason of this story that is like, I mean, creepypastas are fake, but this one is just like 100%
It's
absurd
so stupid.
bullshit. And
it's just so dumb because it is
so
making
funny.
fun of every paranormal game that exists. Like the one where you have to kind of look at the mirror, but not actually look at the mirror. That's the King's game.
Yeah. Hiding in the closet, waiting for the person to find you, the hide and seek game.
Yeah,
The
with the doll
candles.
thing too.
Just like, I don't know. I really enjoyed this one. I really wish that it would have started with based on a true story because it would have just been so fucking perfect because of all those stories that say based on a true story and then they all are total bullshit. But either way, good stuff. I enjoyed it. So before we move into our next story, we are going to take a really quick commercial break. And we're back. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move into the last creepypasta we have this evening, and this one is entitled One Word Story. And it starts out like this. Have you ever played One Word Story? No, I haven't. It's a very simple game. A few people take turns going around to make a sentence. Each person adds one word until the sentence is complete, then someone says, period, and it's read back. It's actually pretty fun if you play with the right people. But I'm pretty antisocial and only have 1 or 2 friends. They don't like the game as much as I do, so I use a random chat site to play with strangers.
That's a bad idea already. It's a ghost in the machine.
It's completely anonymous, so my identity is supposed to be safe. Anyway, it was late afternoon on a Saturday, and I was in the middle of a game when my apartment went dark. It was probably caused by the weird heat. All week, other tenants in my building had complained about the power cutting short around this. It only lasted a few minutes, but when the power came back on, I saw I had been disconnected from the site. When I tried to re-enter, I couldn't. It kept crashing or something, and I kept getting disconnected. I'm easily bored and was a little more than pissed that I hadn't finished my game. So I took to Google and searched chatroom, anonymous, one word story. After 0.18223 seconds, I had 23,000 results. I scrolled down the page and tried a few sites out, but either the players weren't very good or I was led to an anonymous sex chat site. It wasn't until the third... That sounds very real. That happens when you go to Google. It wasn't until the third page of results that I found something interesting. Microfiction.com. I clicked the heading and entered the site. Then I logged in as a guest. I was really surprised to see how dedicated this site was to an overall simple game. Mystery, parody, anime, music, cartoons, horror, film, superstition, and superhero were just a few of the categories that people could use to play one-word story. For no particular reason, I went to mystery first and played a few short games. Then I went to horror, then to music, and to a few others. Eventually, I went to take a bathroom break and made sure to bookmark the site so I could visit it in the future. The site was pretty well managed. Under each main heading, for example, horror, there were subheadings. These were games being hosted by members. Some games only had a few people in them, others had 30 or 40. Some were open to anyone, others were private games that you could only get into if you had a password that the host had sent you. I played for a few hours, really enjoying myself because everyone here took the game just seriously enough to make each sentence interesting and also had enough fun to make the whole story funny to read out loud while still making sense. It was 10 now, and 10:30 was my self-imposed bedtime, so I resigned to play one more game before going to sleep. Going to mystery for the last time that night, I found a private game. Being a guest on the site, I couldn't message the person to ask to join, and I would have kept looking for a public game, except that the page froze. I refreshed it and saw that the game had been changed to public with room for one more person. I thought about that, a one-on-one game of one-word story, and I felt excited at the possibility that this guy would be just as good as I was, and we could create something really unique. So I joined. The host, username, Doppelganger1221, went first. I appeared on the screen almost instantly. I was impressed with this guy's bravery, as using I in this game usually led to embarrassing sentences in the long run. So I rewarded him with a simple enough word that would keep the sentence going. See. He responded almost immediately with, you.
What?
This was honestly a very amateur tactic. It would make the game harder to finish, and the quote-unquote unsettling approach was never enough to make me quit. I decided to humor him, though, and typed, through. His response, your. I thought about where the sentence was going and noticed that my living room window was still open from the afternoon, so I typed, window.
No.
His response was a period signaling the end of the sentence. I see through your window, I chuckled to myself, realizing this guy was a creep.
Shut your... it's fucking 13 Reasons Why all over again.
All right, close your windows, people. All right, a creep is a player who tries to make unsettling or disturbing sentences to scare his opponents into leaving the game. He probably had a friend with him, and they were thinking up ways to scare me. I didn't blame them. My sister and I did that last Halloween when I babysat for my parents. I started the next sentence. You. His reply was are. My reply, not. His reply, safe. My reply was a period, ending the sentence. You are not safe. Again, I chuckled and watched as he started the next sentence. I appeared on the screen. I typed am, which was followed by coming. I thought about ending the sentence there as a slight punishment against the guy for not taking the game seriously. Instead, I typed for to see if he would type what I thought he would. He typed you. I was right on the money and typed a period. I am coming for you.
So I am coming for you. Oh, fuck this. Fuck this.
It wasn't funny anymore, just boring. There was a chat, so I used it to tell the guy to cut the creep stuff. I told him it wasn't funny, and if he didn't cut it out, I would leave the game. He actually replied. Fuck, I just read the sentence.
Is it scary?
Look out your window.
Shut up!
That caught me off guard, but I did what I was told. Across the street, a light post had burned out its bulb, which I hadn't noticed before. It was pretty dark, and I couldn't really make out any shapes. I turned back to the monitor. Doppelganger had typed I, and I saw in the chat that he had posted another comment. Basically, he was telling me what to write. I was becoming fed up with him, but 10:30 was just 5 minutes away, so I reasoned to just finish, and did as he asked. I typed have, he typed a, I typed gun, he typed to, I typed your, and he typed head.
No!
I finished the sentence with a period. I have a gun to your head. I sighed aloud and closed my eyes, stretching at my desk. I just wanted this game to be over. It was my turn, and he had sent another list of words, so I typed I. He typed am. I typed at. He typed your. I typed window, and he typed period. I am at your window. Reading it aloud, I realized the game was over. We had made the story relate to our first sentence. Out of habit, I read every sentence out loud. I see you through your window. You are not safe. I am coming for you. I have a gun to your head. I am at your window. I finished reading and rested my head against my chair, yawning. I was drowsy and thought about sleeping in my chair when a loud cracking sound echoed across the empty street outside, and I noticed the crack that was spiderwebbing from the center of my computer monitor. I blinked to full alertness and saw it, the glint of a bullet sticking out of my screen. I turned my head behind me and screamed as I saw someone in a mask staring in through my window.
Shut the front door, dude.
Out of panic, I dashed out of my chair and into my bedroom. I hid in the closet under a thick pile of dirty laundry and waited, trying to control my rapid breathing as my eyes adjusted to the uncomfortable darkness.
Nope. No.
It was a few minutes before I heard soft footsteps. The maniac was in my bedroom.
No.
I could see his dark boots and leather pants. He fired the gun again at my bed sheets. He must have thought I was hiding in the covers. He rummaged through my drawers and took something that I thought was money or my prescription medicine. I saw him stalk towards my bathroom and fire a shot into the shower. He looked around in there before turning around and looked under my bed. He was almost level with the floor so I could see his features. He was at least 6 feet and dressed in all black except for his mask, which was white with red tear tracts under the eyes and a painted set of crooked, beast-like teeth. He seemed to see perfectly in the dark. I could really only see him because his clothes seemed to be darker than the already lightless interior of my bedroom. After what felt like hours, he stood up and walked out of my room. I stayed in my closet all night, eventually falling asleep, covered in my unclean socks and underwear. I smelled horrible in the morning, and the first thing I did was take a shower. The first thing you didn't do was call the fucking police? All right. Suspension of disbelief interrupted.
I hate when people break into houses. It just freaks me out.
As I did, I stepped on the bullet that had torn a hole in my shower curtains. Afterwards, I called the police, who told me to come down to the station. There's no fucking way the cops would not send someone there. All right. I got ready to go, but couldn't find my keys anywhere. While looking through the drawers of my desk, I complained internally about my monitor being busted. I could still see the site, the chat room, and the game, and took a picture of it with my phone for the police. Now in the kitchen looking for my keys, it hit me that I kept them in my dresser drawer and ran into my room to see what the psycho had taken was my keys. I groaned and was about to call my buddy for a ride when I accidentally opened my photo gallery. I was very annoyed with myself until I took another look at the picture I had taken. Something was different in the picture than I had remembered from last night. There was a new line in the chat, a single word, a simple question, a word I had used so many times over the words after a game was over. I never thought that this word would send shivers down my spine nor turn my blood to ice in my veins. Rematch? ?
Fuck that. Nope. He has your keys. He has your keys.
So this one's like weird because I thought the person in the chat room was going to connect somehow to the person that broke into the apartment, but that's not the case, or broke into the house or whatever.
It's just some creeper.
It's someone who knew what was happening before it happened. And for whatever reason, this person decided to steal car keys after they tried to shoot the person at the computer.
I don't think it's just car keys. It's the house keys. It's everything.
The idea that you'd not call the fucking cops right away to me is just absolutely absurd. Like, when
someone literally shot into your home.
It's a breaking and entering, attempted murder. It's all these other things. And your first thought is like, oh, I'm stinky from my socks. I'm going to take a shower. Like, no, that is not how that would work. I would immediately call the fucking police, and they would send someone there. Like, you're never going to call someone like, someone shot through my windows, broke in, tried to murder me, stole my car keys, and they're going to be like, yeah, just come down to the station and make a statement. No, they're going to fucking send someone there. So overall, I think it's a solid story, but it needs a little polishing, but pretty good. All right. So I want to thank everyone who listened to this episode. We sincerely appreciate you. And also shout out to everyone who watched us record this live. We record story times and pasta times every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time at twitch.tv/scarishpodcast or youtube.com/scarish. For folks who have a story that they would like to send us, whether it is a creepypasta you have written or a creepypasta that you enjoy that you think we should read, feel free to hit us up by emailing pastatime@scarish.com or going to scarish.com. Click on Contact Us, fill out that form, it comes directly to us. You can also hit us up on any of our social medias. Facebook is facebook.com/scarishpodcast. Twitter is @scarishpod, and Instagram is @scarishpodcast. Robin, for folks who would like to donate to us, how can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. Those are monthly donations. Tiers start at $1. I'm surprised Adam didn't do the whole January Patreon push.
You know, I decided that I was only going to do it for topic episodes this January, and I'm kind of regretting it. So maybe I'll splice something in the future.
Okay. Yeah, we just mailed out our Patreon rewards for the past 2 seasons. It was a keychain, a handmade Christmas ornament by the lovely Lisbetry, one of our spooky friends, and a Cthulhu magnet too. So there's some stuff that's worth it, I think, sometimes. And then you can also go to coffee, ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast, and those are one-time donations.
Indeed. So thank you so much to everyone who watched, everyone who listened. We appreciate you all. And that's everything we have for Pasta Time number 25. So Robin, why don't you go ahead and sign us out?
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.